Ed Weintraut talking. I was born February 19th, 1928. I was born in West Philadelphia on 62nd Street there with a midwife for me as the doctor, I guess. And we lived we lived on 62nd Street, probably on number 5 for about 4 years or 5 years there. And then I did have a broken leg there as a youngster. A girl up the street on her roller skates fell on me and broke my leg, so I can remember very vividly with a broken leg at that time. We moved across the street when I was approximately 5 or 6 years old. We moved across the street to 34 North 62nd Street. We had rented the house. The house at 34 North 62nd Street, which we rented, was sheriff saled because the owner never paid the taxes. And within days, we had an option to get out of the house because it was going to be sheriff saled within the week. So through the fact that he worked for the school board of education, they had a credit union. He was able to obtain a loan, and he turned around and bought the house at the time. So we became owners of the house and lived there all of my life until I left to get married, and my mother lived there all her life. My father worked for the Philadelphia School Board of Education as a steam fitting engineer, and all his life he spent reconstructing the furnace and heating systems of all the schools in Philadelphia, which were very numerous.
And what was his name?
His name was Edward Aloysius Weintraut. As a youngster, they thought he would be a priest, but he certainly didn't make it. And he was born up in central Pennsylvania somewhere. His father was born in Jed, Pennsylvania. My father's father was born in Jed, Pennsylvania. My mother, Cecilia Weintraut, was born in Czechoslovakia, came over as a young girl, probably about 14 years old, with her 3 brothers from Czechoslovakia, and she was transported up to Williamsport, and she was a house girl, like a maid, for a very rich family in Williamsport. She had a brother Frank, a brother John, and the 3rd brother was Anthony. Anthony had a problem and got sent away to a school for boys, and in horseback riding he fell off and broke his neck and he died. And Mom lived in Williamsport and met my father, Edward, somewhere at Williamsport at the Hollidaysburg, and they were married, and they lived over a garage because they didn't have a lot of finances. They used to live and sleep over a garage, like a sort of a attic type place, and she used to tell me how they looked out the windows and watched the rabbits running around at nighttime. They moved to Philadelphia, and for just a small sprint of time, they did live somewhere in South Philadelphia and had a little altercation with one of the Catholic priests or something, which turned my father off the Catholic Church forever, and we never went to Catholic Church after that. My sister Leona was the firstborn. That was the pride of my father. He doted over her all through her life. I was born 13 months later, and I grew up more in the background slightly because my sister Leona seemed to be first in my dad's life. Of course, Mom was very good to the both of us. My sister had a regular education and everything, and she was quite thin when she was 16 and had to go away to a camp in the summer, hoping that they could fatten her up or something under the Philadelphia rules of schooling. My sister finally married one of her boyfriends, a fellow who was in the Marine Corps who came home from Iwo Jima, Edwin Jacoby. He was a cab driver from Milwaukee, and he was posted in Philadelphia, and that's how she met him. And when he came back from the service, she married him. and they did live at our house for a while, and then they went on their own and moved in many various houses and had some financial problems keeping up with the rent themselves. My sister died approximately in the year 2000 or 2001, and a year later the brother-in-law also died. They had 5 children, and they are separated here and there all around the city and country, and one as in out in Las Vegas, Nevada. Growing up, I remember in junior high school I was playing baseball in the schoolyard, which was all concrete, and I fell down and broke my arm. So I did spend my summer vacation being off from school, home, sitting on the step, carving soap things. As a young fella, I was 10 years old. I started working at the American store down the street. I was more or less a cleanup boy and an errand boy. I had a wagon and at times took people's food to their homes. I worked in the American store till I was 16 years old. I became a clerk, and at the time of 16 I was notifying them that I was going to leave my work there and become working in a jewelry store. At the time then, at leaving, I was called in at the American store offices, and even at 16 years old, they were so well. I was so well liked. They promised me immediately that they would give me a store down 62nd and Pine Street, which was about a mile away. I could have a store to manage myself even at my early age, but I had to turn it down. At that time, I was going to Bach Vocational School to learn watchmaking, which I quit when I was 16 years old, because I wasn't learning anything, but due to my knowledge of mechanics of watches and clocks, which my father was a part-time hobbyist clock repairer, but he never fixed any watches, I was able to have enough knowledge to go to work at 16 years old in Germantown, and I fixed watches there for about a year. My first job at 16 at the store was 50 cents an hour. After I left there and went down to 6th and Chestnut Street to fix watches, which they were surprised of my knowledge and everything, after taxes I went home with $54.15 clear, and I was about 17 then, and when I was 18 I got my car and was able, due to working, save enough money that my father signed for the balance, and I got a Hudson car which cost about $2,200, which was a marvel in those days. This is Ed Weintraut, born in Philadelphia. This is when I was 17 years old, starting out in life. And now we see a picture of Dorothy and I. It was Dorothy's prom from graduating high school, and I was going with her at that time, and I'm not sure what the year was, but I guess I was 19 years old then, somewhere there.
Green dress.
What was this picture about?
That was going to my senior high school prom with my husband escort.
Uh-huh. How old were you then?
Oh, I guess I was 18.
Okay. Tell me about your dress.
It was pale green. And I don't know what color corsage it was. I think it was maybe chrysanthemums or something.
Oh, did you buy it yourself?
Oh, I don't remember that.
And the next picture is Dorothy with my first car. I got this car when I was 18 years old. It's a Hudson Coupe. It was a gorgeous car and very fancy. And we went every place that you could think because going out on dates, we could go everywhere.
Well, that's me. Your father wanted me to pose with his new car because he wanted that new car, and it's a Hudson. That was a gray skirt, and that was a gray jacket.
Did you go driving out with him a lot?
Oh yeah, every Sunday we took a ride somewhere. There he is, handsome dude.
Yeah.
That's your father. With his tie and his nice suit coat.
Well, I guess I might have been about 20 years old in this picture. I was out with the family, and they took this picture down on the Schuylkill River.
It was my graduation from Little Flower High School, and my aunt attended and my mom attended the ceremony. And we took that after we got back home from the celebration.
And do you know where that picture is?
In the backyard on McMahon Avenue.
Oh, okay.
This is Dorothy's graduation day, and we switched, and I put on the robe and hat and held her diploma, just joking around with Dorothy's father.
What kind of guy was he?
He was a pretty nice guy, jolly guy. He smoked an awful lot, and he sat in his chair an awful lot, and he worked down the waterfront. This was graduation time with Dorothy, and after we got rid of the gown and everything, we had a photograph taken because we were going to celebrate and go out and have dinner and then go out on a date in the evening.
Do you recall where this picture was taken?
This was taken at 5610 McMahon Avenue, right at Dorothy's house.
Uh-huh. And you don't remember where you went out to eat, do you?
No, I couldn't remember such things. Yes. Okay, this is the first summer we were together. We always went down the shore. Matter of fact, every other weekend or so we spent down the shore, Atlantic City mostly. And this is Dorothy here at Atlantic City. And we always had a good time.
Did you go down there by yourselves or with friends?
No, we just went alone, always alone. Dorothy and I, everywhere. We had the Hudson car and off we went.
And how long did it take you to get to the shore back then?
It took about 1 hour and 15 minutes, and here's a picture of myself. I'm surprised that I have such a physique that I'm showing, but I'm still in the same stature of weight and size, and I enjoyed the water an awful lot, and even enjoy it. Dorothy and I went out on the boat. This was a friendly watchmaker that I worked with, had a small yacht out on the Delaware River, and we were invited out for a ride on a Sunday, so the both of us went out and had a good time. That's it.
Well, he rented somebody's boat that he worked with him down the store. He offered for him to take me for a Sunday afternoon ride down the Delaware River. So here I was.
Do you know what you're wearing? Is that a sailor's hat?
It's a sailor's hat, yes.
Okay, what is this?
That's me working at the Sarasota Flower Company. It was down on one of the streets in Philadelphia, not far from your father's store. I forget the name of it.
What did you have to do there?
Sarasota Flower Company. That's what it was.
What kind of work did you do?
I was a secretary. I had to type up letters that they, wrote down for me to type down letters to different companies that they wanted.
And how did you get the job?
I really don't know how I got the job, but they liked me and they kept me on for quite a few years. That's my father, right there, that big
On the
guy.
left? Uh-huh.
Yeah, right there. And that's my friend and bridesmaid, Dolores Schaefer, who lived in our neighborhood. And that's my cousin behind her, Muriel Curran, my aunt and uncle's daughter.
Uh-huh.
And that's one of their sons behind her. And I think the one behind Dolores is Muriel's husband.
And how old were you when you got married?
I was 19.
19?
Yeah.
Wow, that's young.
Okay, this is our wedding, and it was the June 28th. I can always remember that. And we had a nice little personal family wedding at the Immaculate Conception Church in Germantown. And it looks like a couple of people in these pictures have already passed away. Dorothy and I had a very good time. Our maid of honor and bridegroom, they were very nice to us. They pitched in and bought us a wedding present, a $5.95 Pyrex percolator. And at one point there, while we were taking pictures, I actually lifted Dorothy up and was able to carry her, which means I could carry her over the threshold.
Well, that's Dolores, and that's her husband. I forget what his name was.
And there's you and Dad.
Yep, and there's, I forget, she must have been a relative, but I don't remember her.
And do you know where this is taken?
It was in, we went out, we were married, just got married, and we were in the reception hall where we had dinner with all our guests.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, they all have the boutonniere on there.
Here you are throwing the bouquet. Who caught it? Do you remember?
I don't remember who did that.
Did you throw it very far?
No, not too far. We were standing on the third step, and I threw it down till they were on the bottom ground.
Uh-huh.
I threw it down. I don't know. I don't even remember who caught it.
And where was the wedding at?
That was the Immaculate Conception Church
I must have...
on Price Street.
This is me in the Army. I was drafted in the 82nd Airborne, and surprisingly, I was a watchmaker. This picture actually is taken at home because I fixed watches at home. No, I have to change that. This is in my truck. I'm looking. I can see the door in the background. I had my own vehicle truck, and we traveled around, and I was a watchmaker for the 82nd and repaired the watches. And this is another photograph of Army life with some of our buddies, and I was having lunch out on the field. We eat outside, and it was 2 years of being away from home, which is a great experience.
Do you recall where
Sure.
this took place?
Everything was in Fort Bragg,
Oh, Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
so I'll throw it in the next picture. This is when I was in basic training, and Dorothy and Mom were able to come down and visit me at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I was told I was going to Korea because it was the Korean War time. So we had a visit there with Mom, my mom, and Dorothy. This is at Fort Bragg. We were able to have Dorothy come down and live with me after we were married. While I was in the Army, we got married, and this is the little house we were able to rent from another soldier who was going on leave for 60 days, so we rented this house. This is inside the house. This is the bedroom that Dorothy and I had there. For early being married, it was very convenient and nice. Of course, it's not like the modern motels, and we had to use this for our house while there in Fort Bragg.
Uh-huh. And did she return back to Philadelphia after, while you were still in the Army?
Oh, sure. She was only there maybe for 60 days.
So when did you go back to Philadelphia?
Who?
You,
Oh, when I got out of the Army.
which was later that year, or?
Yes, it was 6 months later.
Okay. So you were apart for 6 months after these pictures.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is the inside of the house. That's the stove when you had to heat it up. I think it was coal oil stove. Okay. This is 913 East Price Street. It's called the Airlight Home. It has an enclosed porch and a very beautiful front yard with azaleas that turned red in the spring and lasted for several months. We shared the walkway there with the neighbor next door, who was a little old lady, which wasn't hard to get along with, but she seemed indifferent in some ways.
Well, we really liked the house. The only thing we didn't like was we had to share those steps going up to the house with Mrs. Aiken.
And she was an old battle
She
axe.
picked on the kids every time they came up and tried to go in, or even our door. She'd be out telling them, "Stop making noise! Stop making noise!" And they weren't making any noise.
We enjoyed this house very much. It only had one bathroom. It did have a small cellar, which naturally I had trains downstairs too. So I worked very diligently, and after 10 years or 11 years, I actually paid the mortgage off on the house completely, and we had a little party and burned the mortgage. Well, maybe we didn't even burn it. We burned a piece of paper. So that was the end of that mortgage on the house. From here, we went out looking. We must have looked at 30 or 40 houses. Mostly my wife and mother-in-law drove around all day long looking at places to live. And then on the weekend, I would go out and we would discuss where we might live all over various places in the city.
And why did you decide to move?
Well, the house was too small, and we did want a bigger home. And at that time, with our home paid off, we could afford something better. It wasn't anything wrong there. We were 1 block away from the church. The schools were nearby. Traffic was right nearby, a block away.
Do you remember much about the house?
Sure, I sure do. It cost $10,000, and I got it under the GI Bill, which made it easier to get a mortgage and everything.